Hey gang, I thought I would shoot this video to go over the Facebook ad audit I'm talking about because it's really freaking in depth. Sorry for my sweaty ass appearance. I live in Bali. It's really hot here. Um, so this is the table of contents, going over everything. Basically, I start just from the business manager side, like do all the people have the right permissions, all that stuff. It's kind of crazy how many people just don't even have the right structure. If you have a personal account, a ad account, if you have an Instagram attached, all that kind of stuff. Then I go into like pixel implementation, like how's your pixel being implemented? Almost every single person I've seen like has messed up their tracking. Like either like thank you pages aren't being tracked or stuff's not firing. I go into like what are your primary KPIs, what are your conversion goals, your secondary KPIs, your tertiary goals, or these is cost per lead, cost per add to cart, whatever. I break that all down. I talk about how this stuff should be triggered, what you got to do, what parameters need to be captured. I used to be a developer, so I know all this like technical jargon. If you got someone on staff that can just like do the stuff, I give you like the documentation that you should follow, and yeah, then I even go into alerts. And from all this data that I collect, I also make a recommendation. So this is like the recommendation summary of like, okay, this is what you need. You need to install the Pixel here. You need to invite people here. You need to install this, use that plugin, whatever. And then once I actually go into the ad account, I look over at all the breakdowns. So I look at like demographic data. And so one of the first things I do is look at like gender and age. And this one is like, okay, well, who is your target audience? What's the lowest cost per lead, cost per clicks, all that good stuff. And whether these are young women, young men, whatever, and give you some insights over what is converting at the lowest. And then based on those insights, what I recommend to do for future tests. I look at the locations, if you're doing mostly US, Canada, Big Five, whatever. Here it's like, oh, okay, there's a lot of people clicking in the Philippines and Thailand. It's going to give you really cheap clicks, but not going to be super accurate or qualifying. And so I'll give you recommendations there. I'll look at platforms, whether if you're advertising on Facebook and Instagram. By the way, you should be advertising on Instagram, especially if your audience hangs out there, and then retarget on Facebook. If that's not obvious. I look at like what device you're using, mobile, tablet, desktop, and like how you should, what kind of device you should keep in mind when you're creating graphics and videos. Social media should be square videos, and desktop stuff has a different format than mobile stuff. I go into like the campaign levels. I talk about the account structure, if these make sense with the reporting, all that kind of good stuff. I talk about like your audiences and what the whole funnel looks like, digging into the campaigns, looking at all the metrics, the targeting data, figuring out like where you're remarketing, if you should be going from 180 days website conversions, or going for website custom audiences, or testing more like 14-day, 30-day, which you should be doing. Then digging into the ad creatives, being like, all right, well, you're already testing this and what's been working for you. Let's try doing something differently, and all that kind of stuff. By the way, you should be using video. And if you're not using video, you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. I'll go into your funnel, kind of like zooming out and saying like, all right, how do people get to where they're trying to go? They get from an ad, go to your landing page, a PPC page, whatever. They sign up, they check out, land on the thank you. What's that whole thing doing? I freaking map it out for you. And this is something I do for my clients. I use Funnelytics for it. I get a big ass overview. This finds any kind of like broken links, hidden shit that we may have not seen. And I also find out the biggest leverage points. Like, all right, seeing that most people drop off from this funnel step to another funnel step, and this is what you should do to get people there. In this case, it's like we need to basically get people on a webinar. So let's just drive traffic from this step, getting to webinar signups. We'll look at different funnel tests, the tests on top of that. This is just a template from Funnelytics about a webinar page, and then how we can apply that to the business. We go into thank you pages. I found broken links for this specific person, and what your priority should be in terms of like the marketing stuff. Like you should create nurture sequence, an evergreen webinar, dedicated funnel steps, lead magnets, all that kind of stuff. And I summarize everything at the very end with like what you should do from here. Arguably, all this stuff you can either do it yourself, hire someone else, and it gives you like a freaking plan to do all this stuff without like spending hours, months, weeks, whatever, pulling out your hair trying to figure out what to do. Hope that was helpful. Follow directions in the post if you want one of these.